Welcome back to another FPL video. This will be the team selection for Double Gameweek 25, where I'll talk about how I did in Gameweek 24 and look ahead to my transfer plans for the upcoming deadline. And the big news of Trent Alexander-Arnold missing Double Gameweek 25 has hindered my plans. And I was actually thinking of rolling the transfer, but now I may be forced into making a move to bolster my defense and also look ahead to future blanks and doubles as well. I'll talk about my updated plan. Be sure to drop a like if you end up enjoying this video or finding it useful, and also subscribe to the channel as we're looking to push on towards 23k subscribers. And also check all the links such as my Twitter and Instagram. Follow me on those platforms, join the Discord server, the FPL League, and check out Drafthound using the link in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. Another week has gone by and yet another blank from my goalkeeper. Dubravka got 1 point, but thankfully Areola on my bench got 0 as he conceded 6 to Arsenal. Dubravka conceded twice to Forest and was able to get something. So 1 point is better than 0, of course, but at the end of the day, these goalkeepers have been quite useless. Even the more expensive choices like Alisson, well, he missed out entirely due to illness against Burnley. Then you've got Edison, who actually kept the clean sheet, but in the long run, I don't think he's worth it in FPL. So Dubravka got 1 point and he's only produced 1 clean sheet since he came into the side back in Gameweek 15 to replace the injured Nick Pope. There are reports that Pope is actually speeding up his recovery and could be back fairly soon. But Dubravka is staying for now, and ultimately, it's just a question of who do I go for in the coming weeks, Dubravka or Areola, and I don't expect anything from either of them. The last couple of weeks have been a bit disastrous for my defence, and Trent Alexander-Arnold has symbolised that because I think he could have been the game changer, not just for Double Gameweek 25, where I think he was one of the best options on paper, but also in the weeks leading up to it. And he got an assist against Burnley, was looking really impressive in the first half, but then he was taken off, and it wasn't anything serious according to Jurgen Klopp, but he felt something in his knee, and as a precaution, they substituted him off, and it made complete sense. But I think his minutes have been managed quite well. Some people are blaming Jurgen Klopp for rushing him back, but I don't think that's been the case. It's not like he's played 90 minutes since he's come back, but it's a shame. He got 4 points at least in Gameweek 24, but ultimately, I think Double Gameweek 25 would have been massive for those that had Trent if he had been fit. But now he's been ruled out of both games according to Paul Joyce and Fabrizio Romano, and he's also going to miss the Carabao Cup final, which takes place around Gameweek 26 as well. So it's a big shame for Trent owners. He is a sell now. I talked about him in the Trans Tips video. I said wait for more information, but now we have concrete evidence, and I think he's just worth selling. If you want a Liverpool defender, I know Connor Bradley is going to be very popular, and I think he's a very good 1 week punt. But I expect him to start one of the 2 games, and it could be Joe Gomez, who can play as a right back and as a left back. And that also means Robertson isn't completely nailed on for the double game week. And I think Van Dijk is the best Liverpool defender to buy, even for a -4 hit potentially. I think it could pay off with those fixtures, which are quite good, as we'll get on to very soon. The only issue, of course, is that Liverpool will blank in 26, and they're very likely to blank in 29 as well. My next offender was Pedro Porro, who's been, once again, very disappointing. And I talked about selling him recently, and I still think he is potentially a sell, but you could argue you bench him in blank game week 26, and then you have him in your team set up for blank game week 29. I don't mind that so much. I might do it myself, but I think if you're in a luxury position where you don't have Trent and you're looking to get more double game week 25 defenders, I think Pedro Porro is still worth selling, and you can go to the likes of Nathan Ake, who is now more appealing as an option, with Josko Gvardiol missing out the next 2 to 3 weeks due to injury, which opens up the door to Ake to start 9 and potentially 10 Premier League games in a row. He's on a great run right now. And again, a bit similar to the Liverpool situation, you have a few alternatives at left back for Man City, like Sergio Gomez. You also have a Kanji who can play there, and maybe Rico Lewis. So Ake might not be the most nailed on defender you'll ever see, but I think him and Van Dijk, the 2 Dutchmen, are really impressive options for double game week 25. And in Ake's case, he can help you cover and navigate blank game week 26 as well. My final defender was Saliba, the shining light of my defensive line. He got a 12-pointer against West Ham. No bonus points, but it doesn't really matter either way. Arsenal won 6-0, and as soon as I saw Gabriel score, I was thinking, I don't think Saliba's going to get any bonus points, which sounds crazy as Arsenal were 3-0 up at the time, but still, a clean sheet and a goal. You can't ask for much more from your centre-back. And now let's move on to the midfielders. There were plenty of returns in my midfield, starting with Diogo Jota, my new signing. I sold Jarrod Bowen for Jota, so I gained 5 points from that decision. And also with that double in 25, I think Jota certainly pays off that move. Then he blanks in 26, and I can sell him either then or maybe shortly afterwards in 27 or 28. But as I've mentioned in recent videos, Jota has a great record against Nottingham Forest, who he plays in Game Week 27. So I might keep him for that game week and then sell when he faces Man City at home in Game Week 28. Now, the next midfielder is Palmer. It's so difficult to sell a player of this quality. Another double-digit haul with 2 assists at the very death to win Chelsea the game and 2 bonus points. I think Palmer has been sensational ever since he started games consistently back in Game Week 7. He's got the most points of any FPL player, which is absolutely ridiculous considering he started the season at such a cheap price. He's now at 5.9 million, and I still think he's an absolute bargain. He could easily be worth 7.5 to 8 million, and he could even be worth more than that with the form he's showing, but now he could be a sell. Next up is Foden, the only one to have blanked in my midfield, but still, in UCL Fantasy, for example, he produced the returns, and I like him a lot for Double Game Week 25. You could argue he might be benched in one of those games, or Bournemouth in Game Week 26, but I think Foden is one of the most nailed-on Man City players right now. He's not going to be 100% nailed on, and I think Man City will rotate quite heavily in the next couple of weeks and months, but Foden is still a good option, and if you don't have him right now, I still think he's a buy heading into Double Game Week 25. And the final midfielder is Saka. I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe this time last month, I talked about holding Saka after he had such a poor run, and people were saying, why? He's absolutely useless, he's not worth the money. Ever since, he's been terrific, with a double-digit haul against Nottingham Forest, also a 9 points against Liverpool, and a 15-pointer against West Ham. And of course, he had that blank, so to speak, against Crystal Palace, and he did register an assist in that game. But ultimately, Saka's been sensational since that trip to Dubai, and Arsenal scored 16 goals and only conceded twice in 4 games. They've won all 4, and it's Burnley away next. So I think Saka is a great option up until blank Game Week 29, where Arsenal are very likely to blank, and that is ultimately dependent on the Chelsea result in the FA Cup. If Chelsea beat Leeds United at Stamford Bridge in the 5th round, then Chelsea versus Arsenal won't go ahead in blank Game Week 29. Now it's about the free forwards. Let's see how they got on before moving on to the captaincy and talking about the overall points and rank that I'm currently at. The forward line was quite a mixed bag. Solanke got an assist but also got booked, so 4 points in the end against Fulham, who he has a very good record against, and Solanke doubles in 28 and has great fixtures until Game Week 32. But the next 2 games in particular aren't that great. Newcastle away in 25 I think is quite decent, but then it's Man City at home in blank Game Week 26. So I still think you could sell him and go to these one-week punts like Darwin Nunez or even Ivan Toney and do a bit of a switcheroo in the forward line. But Solanke is still a long-term hold if you're looking beyond the next 2 game weeks. As for the next striker, Erling Haaland, he is now back to his best with a brace against Everton. He actually blanked in UCL Fantasy against Copenhagen, but still very impressive showings in the Premier League. He got that assist against Brentford and followed that up with a brace against Everton in the early kickoff and broke that captaincy curse, so to speak, with the early kickoffs on Saturday. But for me, Erling Haaland is essential for the next couple of weeks. Salah is nearing a return. You've also got Heung-min Son. But with all the blanks and doubles in mind, I think Erling Haaland is a great way to navigate all this fixture period coming up until Game Week 29, where Man City are very likely to blank, and that fixture against Brighton won't go ahead. And in Game Week 25, he is going to be one of the best triple captaincy opportunities you're going to have all season with 2 home fixtures. So I think Erling Haaland is a great option for Game Week 25. And if it requires a -4 hit to get him in this week, I still think it's worth it, to be honest. But of course, it's all circumstantial and team dependent. The final forward is Ollie Watkins, who blanked against Manchester United, and his record against them isn't great. I think 1 goal and 1 assist in 10 appearances now, but over the course of the season, he's going to return consistently. He got an 18-pointer just the week before that. And ultimately, in terms of forwards, he's going to be right up there with Erling Haaland in terms of points scored by the end of the season. So I'm still not too concerned about him, despite the lack of doubles. I think he compensates for that with fixtures in blank Game Week 26 against Nottingham Forest at home and in blank Game Week 29 against West Ham away. I ended up captaining Haaland, but I was very tempted by Jota, who was my vice, but that's 26 points from my captain overall and 86 points to round off the week. And my overall points is 1,421, and my rank has gone up by roughly 576,000 to 404,000. So a decent rank rise, one of the best weeks I've had in ages. Saliba with a massive return, Saka as well. The midfield in general is quite good with the exception of Foden. Even Erling Haaland, Solanke and Trent did something, of course. In the case of Erling Haaland, I say only did something because his effective ownership was still quite high. And if you think it was high now, just wait and see what it will be in Double Gameweek 25, it could be over 150%. So if you don't captain him, any returns he gets could decimate your rank, but you don't want to think about FPL that way. Captain the player you think is going to score the most points, but ultimately in Double Gameweek 25, I think Erling Haaland could go ballistic. Let's now talk about the team selection for Double Gameweek 25. My current plan is to make one free transfer, mainly in the defensive line, to replace the injured Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I am open to a -4 here, and it could involve a move up front, and so many possibilities are here in terms of my Double Gameweek 25 transfer. So let's talk about that and how we can optimize our FPL teams. The weakest part of my squad is undoubtedly the goalkeeper position. I'm going for Dubravka over Areola currently, with the West Ham shot stopper facing Nottingham Forest away, whilst Dubravka has a home fixture against Bournemouth, and I don't expect a clean sheet for either team. So I'm just going for Dubravka in the hopes they make some saves, and the same goes for Areola whenever I start him. My hopes are very low, so anything they can get will be a bonus. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Who would you start between Dubravka or Areola? And ultimately, I think those with Alisson, Ederson, even Kaminsky and Flecken are quite fortunate, and also you're setting up a team quite well, not just for Double Gameweek 25, but also for future game weeks. One of the 50-50 calls I have to make this week is Pedro Porro versus Estupiñán, and I'm currently going for the Spaniard at home to Wolves. He got an assist in the reverse fixture, but one thing that puts me off Estupiñán massively is the minutes. And in recent games, he was subbed off at half-time against Luton Town, and in the following game, he was benched against Crystal Palace and came off for a one-pointer off the bench. And that really puts me off. Whilst with Pedro Porro, you know he's going to start. And whilst the attacking output has reduced dramatically recently, following the reintroduction of James Maddison into the 11, I still think Pedro Porro offers that attacking threat from open play and set pieces, and he's capable of some attacking returns in Double Gameweek 25. My next defender is Nathan Ake. It's very likely I'm going to buy a defender that has a double in 25, and I think it comes down to Ake, Van Dijk, and Doughty. There's also a few others to consider, like Connor Bradley, but I'll be sticking to those three. I think Doughty is the best long-term because he doubles in 28 and 25. He doesn't feature in blank Gameweek 26, but there is a chance he features in blank Gameweek 29 against Nottingham Forest at home. So I think that's the main appeal about Doughty. He's so cheap, and he's got a lot of potential in terms of creating chances, 47 for the season, and he created 9 opportunities in Gameweek 24 against Sheffield United. But with Ake, he got an 11-pointer against Everton at home. But what I like most about him is the fact that with Gvardiol out, Ake can start as a centre-back or as a left-back. He's quite versatile, and he's got 2 goals and 3 assists for the season. And I think Ake could be very nailed on for the next couple of weeks at least for Double Gameweek 25 and blank Gameweek 26. My final defender is Saliba away to Burnley, and as you can see, if I don't make a transfer in the defence, I will have no Double Gameweek 25 defenders with a double. They would all have single game weeks, and it would be a Estupiñán instead of Ake. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Would you just stick, roll the transfer, and have 2 available for blank Gameweek 26, but have Estupiñán instead of Ake or Van Dijk, maybe even Doughty? Let me know your thoughts. I'd be very interested to see what you think. But let's now move on to the midfielders. Things look better in this position with Diogo Jota having a double against Brentford away and Luton Town at home. I bought him last week, and I should have bought him really even earlier, but I went for Gross instead and I sold him at the wrong time, yada, yada, yada. But Diogo Jota is a great option for Double Gameweek 25. I think once Salah comes back, Jota's appeal does decrease dramatically because a lot of his starts have come at the right wing position. He's very versatile, by the way. He can play on both flanks, he can play down the middle, he's 2-footed. But I think once Salah comes back, I think Jota will have fewer minutes, and he's also going to be less effective as an FPL option. But in Double Gameweek 25, with the exception of Erling Haaland, I would put Jota right up there in terms of the best captaincy options this week. Next up is Anthony Gordon at home to Bournemouth. Only 1 blank at St James's Park all season in the Premier League. And despite Bournemouth doing quite well in recent matches, especially you have to say since November all the way up until January, but I still think Newcastle should get the job done. They lost the game, the reverse fixture last time out, and Solanke got a brace. But I think Anthony Gordon is a good option, and he always looks threatening for Newcastle United. And despite Harvey Barnes being available, I still think Gordon will be the main left winger option and start most games in the Premier League. Now, the next midfielder is another one with a double, and that's Phil Foden with 2 home fixtures against Chelsea and Brentford. And in terms of Man City assets, I think the best 3 to have would be Foden, De Bruyne, and Erling Haaland. But if you're going for a more traditional kind of setup with 1 defender and 2 attackers, I think Ake, Foden, and Erling Haaland is the best three to have. You could argue De Bruyne is slightly ahead of Foden, but I think in terms of value and how nailed on they are, I'd rather go for Foden right now. But of course, if De Bruyne can start a run of games consistently and he won't have his minutes managed so much, then of course I would change my tune, and I think De Bruyne is a sensational option. But I'm quite happy with Phil Foden. It's a shame I can't go for De Bruyne with my setup, but overall I'm quite happy with my approach to the Man City players. The last midfielder is Saka away to Burnley. It might not be a double, but one fixture against Burnley could still be enough for Saka to be one of the highest scoring players this week. Now let's complete the squad with the three forwards, and then afterwards we'll talk about the captaincy, use other websites like Drafthound and fpl.team to optimize my squad even further. I'm still tempted by a move up front, but Solanke remains in my team for now. And if I were to sell him, it would be to Alvarez. I do have the funds to do that, even without downgrading Trent to Ake. And by making that move, it also opens up the doors to more possibilities like Solanke to Darwin as a one-week punt. But whilst it looks great for Double Gameweek 25, it would leave me a bit short in Blank Gameweek 26, and it would probably force me into hits to field a full 11 in Blank Gameweek 26. So the current plan is to roll in terms of the forwards, keep it as it is, and Solanke will be in my team probably up until Blank Gameweek 29 at the very least. Next up is the main man, Erling Haaland, with a double against Chelsea and Brentford at home. And apart from Solanke in Double Gameweek 28, with two very good fixtures at home against Sheffield United and Luton Town, I don't see many who can rival Erling Haaland this week in terms of the best options on paper for the triple captaincy. You could argue De Bruyne, Foden, Diogo Jota, Darwin Nunez, but I think Erling Haaland is by far the best triple captaincy option we'll get perhaps all season. Let's wait and see how that pans out, of course. And the final forward is Watkins away to Fulham. Only one fixture, but he can do damage against Fulham in that single game week. And overall, I would love to have a Darwin, even Ivan Toney, and there's a few other forwards that do pique my interest. I could end up going for Alvarez instead, and that would mean not going for Nathan Ake, but maybe instead a Virgil van Dijk or Doughty. So there's a lot of things that I could do this week. The possibilities are almost endless, but my current plan is to make one transfer in the backline, either Ake, Van Dijk or Doughty, coming in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and just sticking with 4 Double Gameweek 25 players. So I think that injury to Trent did hamper my plans. I was looking quite solid, and I was going to navigate Double Gameweek 25 and Blank Gameweek 26 without much effort, and I could easily get to a healthy number of doublers. But still, I think there's going to be people with much better setups this week compared to me. But I still think I can do the job with these single game week options I have, like Saka, even Saliba, and there could be another few surprises on the horizon. But ultimately, it's a strong 11. It's not going to be the best based on Double Gameweek 25 optimization, but I'm still open to taking hits and getting even more doublers in the process. I'm definitely not bench boosting this week because I've got Areola, Estupinian, Palmer, and Lascelles. That last name ruins it completely for me. Palmer away to Man City I could forgive because he's fixture proof. He's a quality player in FPL terms, but ultimately I think Lascelles just ruins that bench boost possibility, and instead I'll be focusing on the other chip that's very popular this week, the triple captaincy on none other than Erling Haaland. Jota's my current vice. It could go to Phil Foden, but I think ultimately those three are the captaincy contenders within my 15-man squad, and Erling Haaland is by far the best option. And in terms of triple captaincy opportunities, I think it's a standout choice throughout the entire season. So let me know your thoughts. Are you going for a triple captaincy? Are you going for Erling Haaland? Are you bench boosting? There are going to be some examples where your bench is so strong and it could match or even surpass the triple captaincy on a player such as Erling Haaland. But let's now move on to Drafthound and fpl.team to talk about a few little details that I could do to maybe improve my squad, and perhaps I will entertain the thought about taking hits to improve my Double Gameweek 25 squad, even though it could lead to some issues later down the line. Check out the link to Drafthound in the description below. I'd highly encourage you to try it out. There are so many tools at your disposal, and they're recommending a few changes to my setup, and they're talking about Foden as my vice captain, with Areola, Gordon and Estupinian coming on for Dubravka, Trent and Solanke, and the expected points does rise to 97.9, and if we also put the triple captaincy chip and apply it, it will go up to 113.7. I'd be very happy with that score, I'll tell you that for sure. But Solanke to Alvarez is their suggested transfer, and I am open to making such a move instead of going for Ake at the back. And there is a new feature in Drafthound called Player Scouting, and there are so many different profiles and aspects that they analyze. So you've got the price, ownership, the role, which fluctuates based on their minutes in recent games, their chance of starting in the next match, their points in the last 5, and also their expected points in the next 5 overall, and also in individual game weeks. But there are so many different aspects that they analyze, and it's very helpful when making your transfers. And if you click on an individual player, they will give you a summary, and it's very detailed. It gives you everything you need to know, and it lists all the pros and cons of any single player of your choice. And to be honest, it might tempt me to buy Alvarez for Solanke this week instead of going for Ake, Van Dijk, or Doughty at the back. Let's now head over to fpl.team to quickly preview blank Gameweek 26 and potentially some other blanks and doubles in the future. With the proposed transfer of Nathan Ake in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, I would only need to make one move in blank Gameweek 26 to field a full 11. I don't count Lascelles because the most he'll get is 1 point off the bench. So it'd be Areola in goal at home to Brentford, Saliba, Estupiñán and Nathan Ake, a midfield four of Saka, Foden, Gordon and Douglas Luiz, who would come in for either Diogo Jota or Cole Palmer. And the front three is Haaland, Watkins and Solanke, and the expected points is 56.8, which is quite decent considering it is a blank game week. Then going into Game Week 27, I could buy Heung-min Son for either Jota or Palmer, depending on who I sold back in Game Week 26. And the bench would be quite strong as well. But it'd be Areola in goal, potentially. Maybe even Dubravka at home to Wolves. That's a difficult one to choose. I think they would recommend in FPL.team to go for Dubravka. The back three would be Saliba, Estupiñán and Pedro Porro. Saka, Foden, Gordon and Son as the midfield four. Haaland, Watkins and Solanke as the front three, with Ake, Douglas Luiz and Lascelles on the bench. Then in double Gameweek 28, I would sell Lascelles finally to Doughty and potentially take a -4 hit and sell Haaland to Adebayo, which sounds ridiculous, but a double game week compared to Liverpool away, and then Haaland will likely blank in blank Gameweek 29. And another change I could make is the goalkeeper, with Areola having a more favourable fixture, and it would increase the expected points to 73.5. We can also vice-captain Doughty or someone else of that ilk, but Solanke would be the main captaincy option. And in blank Gameweek 29, I would just need to take a -4 hit to get to 8 players and cover most of the key options. So Heung-min Son would probably be the captain, but also Ivan Toney, Watkins would be considerations. Having 8 players isn't ideal for a blank game week, but I'm covering most of the key options and there aren't many teams at our disposal. Let's see if the FA Cup results have some shocks in the 5th round, which lead to more fixtures taking place. Maybe Arsenal versus Chelsea, for example, and I could have a full 11 very easily. But those are my current plans for the transfers. So Nathan Ake coming in Game Week 25, but maybe going for Doughty could help me at least prevent one -4 hit later down the line, and I could potentially get to 9 players in blank Game Week 29. So I want to see your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 23k subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, the FPL League, and Drafthound. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Double Gameweek 25 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.